Have you ever heard of the deadliest conflict in Michigan during the War of 1812? Let's take a step back to the early 19th century, when the world was a tumultuous place and nations were battling for supremacy. The War of 1812 was raging, a conflict sparked by trade restrictions, impressment of American sailors, and territorial ambitions. The United States, a young nation, was pitted against the mighty British Empire, with Native American tribes aligning with one side or the other. In the midst of this global conflict, there was a small strategic settlement known as Frenchtown. Nestled on the banks of the River Raisin, Frenchtown was more than just a quaint village. It was a vital point of contention, a prize to be claimed. Why, you might ask? Frenchtown, which is now modern-day Monroe, Michigan, was strategically located. Its position made it a gateway to the western frontier, a stepping stone to territory that was ripe for the taking. The United States, British forces, and their Native American allies each perceived the value of Frenchtown. For the Americans, it was a stronghold to be fortified, a bulwark against British expansion. For the British, it was a stepping stone to further their territorial ambitions, a foothold towards the west. Native American tribes saw Frenchtown as a pawn in their struggle to maintain their lands and way of life amidst the encroaching colonial powers. The stage was set. Tensions were simmering. The players were poised, each with their own aspirations and fears. Frenchtown was more than just a settlement. It was a symbol, a microcosm of the larger conflict that was the War of 1812. And so the stage was set for a conflict that would forever mark the history of Michigan. January 18, 1813 marked the beginning of a series of conflicts that would come to be known as the Battle of Frenchtown. The initial skirmishes kicked off with an unexpected American attack on the British forces, who had taken a stronghold in Frenchtown, a small settlement in the Michigan Territory. The Americans, under the command of General James Winchester, had a strategic advantage in the form of a surprise attack. They had managed to march undetected through the frigid winter landscape, catching the British and their Native American allies off guard. The element of surprise, combined with the Americans' tactical use of the local terrain, allowed them to drive the British forces out of Frenchtown. The British force, led by Colonel Henry Proctor, was taken aback by the sudden and forceful American offensive. Despite their superior numbers and the support of their Native American allies, the British found themselves on the back foot. The Americans' aggressive tactics and their use of the cover provided by the surrounding woods and buildings of Frenchtown forced the British to retreat. As the British withdrew, the Americans took control of Frenchtown. They had won the first round of this battle, much to their delight. Their success was a testament to their strategic planning, their understanding of the local terrain, and their ability to adapt to the harsh winter conditions. It was a morale-boosting victory that demonstrated the Americans' resilience and determination in the face of a formidable adversary. However, as the smoke cleared and the jubilant cheers faded, the Americans found themselves in a precarious position. They were now deep in enemy territory, far from their main forces, and surrounded by a hostile landscape. They had won a battle, but they were far from winning the war. The British and their Native American allies were still a potent threat, and they were unlikely to let this defeat go unanswered. After these initial successes, the Americans held Frenchtown, but the battle was far from over. The Americans had made their move, and now they were waiting for the British counterattack, a response that would come sooner than they expected and with devastating consequences. In the face of the initial American success, the British and their Native American allies planned a surprise counterattack. The British, known for their tenacity, were not about to let an initial defeat deter them. They rallied their forces, their resolve hardened, and planned a retaliation that would catch the Americans off guard. The British forces, alongside their Native American allies, initiated a surprise counterattack. The Americans, basking in the glow of their initial success, were unprepared for what was to come. The British forces, like a storm on a clear day, descended on the American encampment. The Americans found themselves trapped in a whirlwind of chaos and confusion. The British and their allies fought with a ferocity born out of desperation. The Americans, taken by surprise, were unable to mount an effective defense. The battle raged on, fierce and unforgiving. The American forces suffered heavy losses, their ranks thinned and morale shattered. The scene was one of utter carnage, a stark contrast to the triumph of their initial victory. The surprise counterattack by the British marked a significant shift in the course of the battle. The balance of power, which had initially tipped in favor of the Americans, now swung towards the British. The Americans, reeling from the blow, struggled to regain their footing. The tide of the battle had turned, and it was the British who were now in control. This counterattack was not just a strategic victory for the British, but it also marked a psychological win. The Americans, confident and complacent after their initial victory, were now filled with doubt and fear. The British, having tasted success, were emboldened and ready to press their advantage. The British counterattack changed the course of the Battle of Frenchtown, leading to one of the darkest days in Michigan's history. The Battle of Frenchtown, which had begun with American success, was now marked by defeat and despair, a poignant reminder of the unpredictability of war. Following the British counterattack, a horrific event unfolded, which would later be known as the River Raisin Massacre. As the dust of battle settled, a chilling scene came to light. Wounded American soldiers who had been taken as prisoners of war were subjected to a brutal massacre carried out by the Native American allies of the British forces. The day was January 23, 1813, and the air was still heavy with the smoke of gunpowder. The wounded American prisoners, already suffering from the injuries of the battlefield, became the victims of an unthinkable act of violence. This was not a swift end, but a prolonged ordeal, with the Native American allies of the British forces showing no mercy. This act of brutality was not just a tragic incident, it was a calculated act of war. The aim was not only to eliminate the wounded soldiers, but also to instill fear and demoralization among the American forces. The massacre became a horrifying testament to the ruthlessness of warfare and the depths it can drive humanity to. The River Raisin Massacre was not just another battle in the War of 1812. It was the deadliest conflict in Michigan during the war, leaving a deep scar on the American psyche. The sheer number of casualties, coupled with the brutal manner of their deaths, shocked the nation and the world. Despite the horror of the massacre, it served to galvanize the American forces. The brutality of the event ignited a renewed determination among the American soldiers. The rallying cry, "Remember the Raisin," became a potent symbol of resistance against British forces and their allies, driving the American forces to fight with renewed vigor. The River Raisin Massacre was a dark day in the history of the War of 1812, a day marked by brutality and bloodshed. But it was also a day that showcased the indomitable spirit of the American forces, their resilience in the face of adversity, and their determination to fight for their land and their freedom. The River Raisin Massacre marked a tragic end to the Battle of Frenchtown, etching its name into the annals of history. The Battle of Frenchtown had a profound impact not only on the War of 1812 but also on the history of Michigan. The aftermath of this tragic event was marked by strategic shifts in the region that forever altered the course of its history. The Battle of Frenchtown's conclusion signaled a turning point in the War of 1812. The heavy losses suffered by the American forces prompted a re-evaluation of their military strategy. The unexpected British and Native American counterattack led to the surrender of Fort Detroit, a significant outpost for the United States. This loss marked a significant setback, but it also sparked changes in military leadership that would influence the final outcome of the war. The aftermath of the battle also saw a shift in power dynamics. The British, bolstered by their victory, solidified their control over the Michigan territory. However, the American forces, though initially defeated, were spurred into action by the tragic events at Frenchtown. Their renewed determination would play a crucial role in the subsequent battles of the war. Beyond its immediate impact on the War of 1812, The Battle of Frenchtown left a lasting legacy in the form of the River Raisin National Battlefield Park. Established to commemorate this historic event, the park serves as a stark reminder of the tragic loss of life and the brutal realities of war. It stands as a testament to the resilience of those who fought and the sacrifices they made in the pursuit of their ideals. Visitors to the park are offered a glimpse into a pivotal chapter of Michigan's history, one that shaped its future and influenced the course of the nation. The Battle of Frenchtown, though marred by tragedy, is a significant part of Michigan's rich historical tapestry. The Battle of Frenchtown, a pivotal event in the War of 1812, serves as a solemn reminder of the cost of war, forever etching its story into the heart of Michigan. Even after 2 centuries, the echoes of this battle continue to resonate, reminding us of the lessons learned and the price paid for freedom.